There was a woman whose heart once believed that love could heal every wound. She thought that if she gave enough of herself, if she forgave enough times, if she stayed long enough, the darkness would somehow turn into light. But the walls of her home slowly became a cage, and every word he spoke, every silence he held, every glance that cut her down began to shape a world. She could barely breathe, and she learned to smile through bruises, not always on her skin, but deep in the places no one could see. She hid her pain behind laughter because it was easier than explaining why her voice trembled when the door opened or why she flinched when someone spoke too loud. Her friends stopped calling, her family stopped visiting, and the house that was once filled with dreams became a place of survival, not love. One night when the rain was falling and the world outside felt as broken as her, she sat on the edge of the bed and looked at herself in the mirror. The woman staring back was not the girl who once dreamed of forever. Her eyes were heavy, her spirit thin. She whispered a promise to herself that if she ever saw the sun rise again, she would not let it be wasted on tears. So she waited for morning, and when it came soft and slow through the curtain, she picked up a small bag and her child and left without. Looking back, the road was long, and her fear was louder than her footsteps, but she kept walking because something deep inside her still believed she deserved peace. The first nights were the hardest. Shelters were full, strangers were kind, but the world was cold. She held her child close and whispered stories about stars, about bravery, about new beginnings. She told them, even if the sky falls, we will still stand, because love does not hurt like that. Love protects, love heals, love lets you breathe. She worked small jobs, cleaned houses, cooked in diners, anything to build a little life from the ashes of what was once hers. She was tired, but every night she looked at her sleeping child and felt the smallest spark of joy, that they were safe, that she was free. Years passed, and she began to find her strength again. She started to volunteer at a local shelter where women with faces like hers came with trembling hands and broken voices. She listened, she held them, she told them that leaving was not the end, it was the beginning. She saw herself in every story, and every tear reminded her of the night she chose to live, not just survive. She saved every dollar she could. She studied social work. At night she learned how to fight, not with fists, but with courage. With knowledge, with compassion, she began to dream again, but this time her dream was not just for herself. She wanted to build a place where no woman would ever have to sleep in fear, where children could laugh without flinching at loud sounds, where broken hearts could rest and begin again. She wanted to create a home, not a shelter, a home filled with warmth, with art, with healing. She called it the Safe House of Light, and with the help of volunteers, donations, and her endless determination, she made it real. It was small at first, just 2 rooms and a shared kitchen, but it was alive with hope. She painted the walls herself, bright colors, soft textures. She planted flowers outside, so the first thing anyone saw when they arrived was something growing, something beautiful. Soon women began to come, some carrying nothing but their stories, others holding children asleep on their shoulders. They came because someone told them there was a place that would take them in without judgment, without fear. She welcomed them all. She remembered every name, every scar, every dream, and she would whisper to them what she once told herself: you are not broken, you are becoming. Reporters came one day asking how she did it, how she built all of this. She smiled and said, I built it from pain, I built it from nights I thought I would die. I built it because no one should have to choose between being loved and being safe. And then she looked at the women around her, laughing, cooking, singing softly, and she said, this is what healing looks like. Years later, the Safe House had grown into something larger, a network of hope across the state. She had trained others to lead, taught them to listen, to hold space for the hurting. She became known as the woman who turned her wounds into wings. But she never cared for fame. She cared for the quiet moments, the sound of children's laughter in the courtyard, the way the women began to stand a little taller, walk a little prouder. She cared for the mornings when she opened the door and saw the sunrise, and remembered the night she made herself a promise. Sometimes she would sit on the porch with a cup of tea and her child, now grown, and they would talk about the journey and how far they had come. Her child would say, Mom, you saved so many lives, and she would smile softly and say, no, they saved me. Every time a woman walked through those doors and chose to live, she reminded me why I did too. The safe house still stands, its walls filled with the echoes of resilience and love. Women come and go, some stay for weeks, others for years, but all leave with something stronger than before, a belief that they matter, that they are worthy, that their story does not end in pain but begins in power. And if you ever walk by on a quiet evening, you might see her light still on inside her face, calm, her eyes full of stories. She carries them all like stars in her heart, each one a reminder that even in the darkest night, there is always a dawn waiting to rise. Sometimes she would sit quietly in the common room. When everyone had gone to sleep, she would walk through the halls, touch the walls gently as if to thank them for holding so many broken hearts. And she would think about that first night when she ran into the storm with nothing but hope in her chest. She remembered the fear, the trembling, the uncertainty, and she would smile because she had become everything she once needed. One evening, the women at the house gathered to celebrate the anniversary of the safe house of light. There were candles, music, and a soft hum of joy in the air. A young woman stood up, her voice trembling. She said, "When I came here, I was empty. I thought I would never laugh again, but you taught me that I could rebuild piece by piece." And she looked at the older woman and whispered, "You gave me back my life." Tears filled the woman's eyes, and she held the younger one close and said, "You gave me mine too." As the night ended, she stepped outside, the cool breeze touching her skin. The stars shimmered above her like the eyes of every woman she had ever helped. She felt her heart swell with gratitude. She had once believed that her story was one of pain, but standing under that vast quiet sky, she realized it was a story of transformation. The darkness had not destroyed her, had shaped her into a lantern for others. She thought of all the women still out there, still afraid, still lost, and she sent a silent prayer into the night. May they find their way to the light. Years later, when she grew too weak to keep up with the work the women she had helped returned to her side. They cooked her meals, fixed her garden, and read to her in the evenings. Her child, now grown, often sat beside her, holding her hand and reminding her of all the lives she had touched. One night, as she drifted into sleep, her child whispered, "You changed the world, Mom." And with a soft smile, she replied, "I just changed mine, and it was enough." When she passed away, the safe house became her legacy. They named the main hall after her and hung a picture of her standing by the door with that gentle smile that had welcomed so many lost souls through the years. Women still came, still found safety, still found hope. And when they arrived, they would see her face on the wall and feel like someone was whispering, "You are safe now." Her story spread far beyond her town. People spoke of the woman who turned her pain into purpose, who refused to let her suffering end with her, who built a sanctuary from sorrow and filled it with love. And whenever someone asked how she did it, those who knew her best would say, "She never stopped believing in the sunrise." Today, the safe house of light still glows on the hill every evening, its windows warm, its doors open. It stands not just as a shelter, but as a testament that one woman's courage can ripple through generations. If you listen closely, you can still hear laughter in the halls, the clinking of teacups, the soft hum of a lullaby, and maybe, just maybe, if you stand long enough, you can feel her presence, her love woven into every corner of that house, reminding you that healing is possible, that love can rebuild what pain tried to break, and that even in the darkest night, the smallest light can guide you home.